How many people here have never been to an Easter Seals event before? Okay. How many people have been at least 5 times, 10 times, 20 times? Wow. How many people have been here 25 times? Okay. How many people here have had dinner in this train station before? How many people didn't know you could have dinner in this train station? Okay. How many people here remember exactly where they were on a 9/11? So, well, I remember exactly where I was that time, and I remember watching it. We had a conference, and I couldn't believe it. I'm sure none of you could either. And that was one of the most tragic days in our country's history, but also it was a day that showed the country knew how to pull together in a time of crisis. And what happened was that people all over the country turned out to volunteer. They wanted to help their neighbors. And our country got more united in that day than probably any other time before then or since then. And it showed the power of spirit in this country for giving back to others, helping others, and volunteerism. When de Tocqueville came to this country in the 1830s to write about the United States, he came over from France. He said he had a hard time getting anybody to talk to him because everybody was busy volunteering. They just were volunteering for this and volunteering for that. And the reason was our country was not a wealthy country then, and to get philanthropic things done, you had to volunteer. There wasn't a wealthy government that paid for everything. So we began the tradition in this country of volunteering and helping others. And that tradition continues today, and our country by far is the most philanthropic country in the world by almost any measurement. And a large part of philanthropy is volunteering. Now, philanthropy is derived from an ancient Greek word that means loving humanity. It doesn't mean rich people writing checks. Obviously, that's nice too, but philanthropy is most valuable when you can also, in addition to giving financial support, give your time. That's the most valuable thing you have is your time. You can't make more of it. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. And so all of you who have volunteered for this cause or any cause, no doubt feel that you're doing something good for the country, and you are. And so I hope all of you will see yourselves as a role model for your own children. So when you volunteer, your children are more likely to volunteer, and their children are more likely to volunteer, and so forth. And we can continue the tradition of volunteering and the tradition of helping other people who need it. All of us who are in this room are probably reasonably prosperous, reasonably successful, and reasonably happy with life. But there are many people in this country and around the world, but certainly in this country and this community, who are not as fortunate as we are. So all of us should thank every day that we're fortunate enough to be able to come to a dinner like this, and fortunate enough to be able to support Easter Seals, which is a unique institution and doing so many wonderful things. And let me tell you a story about somebody who we're in effect going to mention tonight, who did so many wonderful things. I was born in 1949. Anybody else older than me here? No. Okay. So in 1949, a young woman named Judy Heumann contracted polio. And if any of you remember that era, polio was, if not a deadly disease, it could cripple you for life. Some people managed to overcome it, and some people never overcame it. Senator Mitch McConnell had polio, obviously overcame it in many ways, but many people weren't so lucky. The traditional way you help get people out of polio or dealt with it was to put them in what's called an iron lung, where it was a big contraption and you had people go into it, lie down there, and basically live in it and help you breathe. One of our presidents of the United States had polio, and had he had better medical treatment, he would not probably have suffered the worst consequences of polio, and that was Franklin Roosevelt. This woman, Judy Heumann, contracted polio in 1949, and she eventually got out of the iron lung, but she was forced to live in a wheelchair the rest of her life. And when she went to grade school, her teacher said, well, you can't come with the other students because you are in something that's a fire trap, a wheelchair, and other children might be hurt if they have to go out in an emergency. So they didn't let her go to school with her other classmates at that time. Eventually they did, but eventually she realized what many other Americans came to realize, was that the United States did not have in that time, in 1950s or so, a policy that treated all Americans with disabilities or no disabilities the same. Fortunately, we have the ADA now, but we didn't have it for so much of the lifetime of all of us. But it took a lot of people to fight for that and to fight for the rights for people who have disabilities to be treated with equality and with respect. Judy Heumann was one of the people that did that. She was the mother of people, the mother of people who fought for disabilities. And she, in her lifetime in the United States, in Washington area, she did more than any other person to make certain that people with disabilities are treated equally, but also they get support and they have volunteers to help them. And she did that throughout her entire life. Sadly, she passed away about a year ago. But to honor her, the Easter Seals have named its Volunteer Advocacy Award in her honor, Judy Heumann Volunteer Advocacy Award. And tonight, it's my honor to present it to somebody I know. Let me tell you about her. Her name is Candy Wolf, and Candy Wolf is somebody I've gotten to know through the Economic Club of Washington. Mary has been the president for 30 years or so. I've been the chair for a while and worked closely with her and with people on the board, and Candy's been on the board for quite some time. Candy's real name is not Candy, it is Candida. But Candy, I guess, is a nice short word. Wolf is a complicated second name because Candy is a name, everybody loves candy, right? How can you not love candy? You can't say you might not like wolves as much, but everybody loves candy. Now, you've heard the expression, nobody doesn't like Sara Lee. Well, nobody doesn't like Candy Wolf because she volunteers. She's given an enormous amount of her time to this organization and other organizations. She's a native of Connecticut, went to Mount Holyoke and George Washington Law School, and then she worked on Capitol Hill, worked in the White House for President George W. Bush, and now she's the head of the global organization, Global Advocacy for Citicorp, but working out of the Washington office. And she's done an incredible job for Citicorp, but also an incredible job advocating for people who have a problem that many of us are probably going to have at some point. As you get older, people look at you differently. Some of you may have noticed this. I've noticed it increasingly. It used to be that, you know, if you were 65, people thought you were ready to retire. Now it's 85 or something. You can be President of the United States and be 80-some years old. But there's no doubt that some people who couldn't be President of the United States in their 80s are different than people that sometimes have health care, mental or physical problems in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and need help. They may need to be institutionalized. They may need to find ways to live in society. And all of us will no doubt have members of our family who at some point are, as they age, need special treatment. And what we want to do with these people is to make them feel as honored and respected as possible as they age. And I hope that'll happen to me as I get older, so that my children won't say, well, let's put him in a nursing home because he can't do what he used to be able to do. I suspect my children may do that. But I really am proud that Candy is a person who has advocated for people, among other things, that people should be given respect and honor as they age, and if they don't need to go to a nursing home or an equivalent facility, they can live in the community and actually get the kind of help they need, but not having to be institutionalized. And so all of us should respect somebody who does that. Candy has done a spectacular job of that. She's here with her husband, she's been married to for 29 years, almost 30 years, and she has 2 daughters, both of whom are very proud of her and no doubt would like to have been here tonight, but they're in Colorado. But I would like all of you to give your expression of appreciation for what Candy Wolf has done for the people she's advocated for Easter Seals, and for our larger Washington community. So it's my pleasure to introduce Candy Wolf.